How's it going? This is Hoiman and today we're taking a look at the S.H.Figuarts Cure March figure. So again, this is a web exclusive figure, but you still get the window display to see the figure inside. And in the top you have pictures of the figure, same for the sides, legal stuff for the bottom, and then various pictures of the figure on the back. It's very flashy. And then to open the box, just lift open the side flap. And then lift open the front cover. And there's the figure all together with her accessories. So first you do get some instructions showing what the figure comes with and how to operate the accessories. So here's the actual figure, and this figure has quite a few problems, but for now, taking a look at the sculpt, I feel that they have nicely captured the character really well. The face is nicely sculpted and detailed, and then on the hair, which is probably the most eye-catching piece. So the fringes are nicely sculpted and detailed, as well as her side bangs. They're very large and very nicely sculpted, and then even on the back you can see some strands of sculpting in the hair. And then you have her really long hair here, which is nicely sculpted for the most part, but it is quite odd that there's just this massive seam line how they put the hair together. It just really stands out and does really detract from the figure quite a bit. And because it's so large, it is really noticeable. So it's a bit unfortunate, but for the most part it is nicely sculpted. And then there's even some darker green shading as well to bring out the detail. And then this part here is a softer material, so you don't have to worry about that breaking. However, the feather on our top is quite solid, so you have to be careful of that. And then down to her actual outfit, again nicely sculpted, nice ribbons for the front with the metallic gold for the gem. And then down to the skirt, again nicely sculpted. And I don't know what it is about this figure, but this figure just seems to have a lot of shading going on. So if you look at her skin color, you have the natural skin, but then there's like these really dark shading areas to really bring out the details and add texture to her skin. And it looks nice, but out of the whole Smile Precure figures, this is the only one that has this level of detailing. And it looks nice, but when you pose them together with the whole team, Cure March does kind of stand out because of all the kind of different techniques and shading they used on this figure. So it kind of almost looks like they're different figure lines entirely. So it's quite odd that they went with this treatment for Cure March. So I'm not too sure why, but it is what it is. But overall, it does still look nice overall. And then moving down to her shoes, again nicely sculpted and detailed. And then these bits are solid, but they shouldn't break on you easily. And then like I already mentioned, the skirt is a softer material and is sculpted as well to bring out the details. So for articulation, the neck is on a single ball joint, so she can look down about that much, and then she can look up that much. And this is where one of the main QC issues is. It's quite a common thing with Precure figures now, but as you can already tell, because the hair sticks out so much to the back and the whole piece is a solid piece, it really weighs down her head. So she does tend to look up quite a bit, and it does make posing her really difficult. And to make it even more frustrating is that the joint connecting to her head is extremely loose. So even when I put it on, it just comes off really easily, and that can be really frustrating when posing her. I don't know why, it just doesn't seem to want to stay in there. It's almost like the hole that's sculpted is too big for the peg. So it just comes across really loose. So it was quite frustrating. There is a bit of a solution to this, which I'll get to in a bit in the accessories. But for now, continuing with the articulation, these side bangs are actually on ball joints at the narrow part here. So you can move them about however you want and pose them, but the main function for these is so that you can swap out the head. So you just pull off the front part and then swap out the face. So that makes it easier. And then for this long ponytail here, there's actually a ball joint here. So you can move that back and forth however you like, and then you can also swivel it as well. But like I already mentioned, because it's so heavy, it's really going to unbalance the figure. So it can make posing quite difficult. Moving to the shoulders. I mentioned with Cure Piece that her shoulder parts were a solid piece, but with Cure March, they've gone back to the softer material. So it's still on a swivel, so you can move that about. And this allows the arm to articulate. So it's on a ball joint, so you can move the arm about however you like. And it's also on a hinge, and you can bring it out to the side, as well as forward and back. And she has the bicep swivel as well as the single jointed elbow. And then she's got the ball jointed wrists as well. There is another QC issue here, is that her left arm is really loose and it tends to pop off the joint quite easily as well. It's not that it's broken, it's just quite loosely attached. So there's a bit of a QC issue there. It doesn't seem to be the case with her right arm, so again, I can't say if these problems are for every figure, but for my experience with this figure, it just seems to be that way. The torso is on a ball joint, so let's remove her head to make it easier. So the torso is on a ball joint, you can lean forward that much, lean back that much, and you can see how the sculpt continues upwards. And then she can lean side to side as well as twist. And then the legs are on the ball joint at the waist. So you can move her legs about however you want, as well as twist. And because the skirt is a softer material, it allows the leg to be fully articulated. So each leg is on a ball joint, so she can kick out that far to the side. Kick forward that much, kick back that much. She has the thigh swivel, as well as the single jointed knee. And then for her ankles, they are on ball joints, but because these parts are sculpted and they're really solid, it pretty much restricts any movement in her foot. So you can just move it very slightly side to side, but you can't really move up and down a lot, which is quite odd since the other Smile Precure figures don't have that issue. But it's just something to keep in mind, I suppose. So overall, she has all the articulation you'd expect a Figuarts figure to have, but like I mentioned with the QC issues, such as the loose head, the really back heavy hair, and then possibly loose joints in some areas, it does kind of detract the figure from a bit. But for the most part, you still should be able to get most of the poses you want from this figure. But that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. So for faces, she comes with a default smiling face, a happy smiling face, an angry or frustrating face, and then an angry shouting face. For hands, she comes with a pair of open palmed hands, a pair of fists, one open palmed hand, a heavy rock metal hand, another open palmed hand, a pointing hand, and then she also comes with this extra neck joint, which is the same joint, but it just doesn't have the hinge. And I kind of recommend it for this figure, like I already mentioned, because she's so back heavy with the hair. I do actually recommend using this joint, and for whatever reason, it seems a bit more sturdier. It seems to be able to hold in the head a bit better, but it's still relatively loose. But at least now her head's locked in place, so it won't really weigh down her head anymore. So if you do have this problem with this figure, I do recommend swapping out the joint. So it's nice that they included it. And then finally she comes with a display base. So it does have the character's name and some nice patterning. And then you have the stem itself, and they actually gone with the newer stem this time. I mentioned it was odd with Cure Piece, how they used the older stem, which is not as stable, but at least with Cure March they've gone back to the new one, so that's nice. So my final thoughts are, because this is a web exclusive figure, the price of her is quite high, and she's quite an older figure now, so the price has been going up a bit. And for such a high price, She is nicely sculpted and detailed, and she does have the extra shading on her skin to make it look much more premium, but it does stand out if you display her next to her other teammates. So it does look a bit odd in that regard. And with the QC issues such as the loose neck, some loose joints here and there, and the really back heavy hair, it can detract from the figure a bit, but the good thing is she does come with a stand so that you can display her without her falling over. And yeah, if you're a fan of this character or the series, then I can still recommend this figure, but just keep in mind she may have a lot of problems with this figure that I already mentioned. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.